It's the 1st of April. Yeah. It's the 1st of April and I am bringing this trusty little book into this video, and if you've seen my last wrap up, you should know what this means. You should know what this means. Grammar. Don't know what that is. This trusty little book is joining me in this video because we have wrapped up another month of reading, and my god, was it a roller coaster. I have been in many different places this month. I have experienced many different things, some more odd than others, some more painful than others, some very horrific, and some just pure torture. Since I read most of these books when I was at my mum's, I haven't brought all those books with me back because I'm not a pack mule and I couldn't bring all of them because it would have just been way too heavy. And it would have just been way too heavy. So I might have to, you know, put in some covers when I'm talking about them in somewhere in here. Because as you know, I'm a technical person who can do that now. And we kicked off March with a book that I've seen many people hype on BookTok, and that is Fairytale. Would I recommend Fairytale? No. No, I wouldn't. I feel like the writing was messy. The storytelling was messy. I didn't like the whole, you know, oh, she thinks that he's sexually assaulted her, but he gaslights her into believe that he haven't. Maybe he hasn't, maybe he has, but then just he has to say a couple of sentences and she's just fine with it, and that's like I didn't like it, so I gave it 1 star. I've kind of tried to put it out of my mind because I really didn't like it, and I read it at the very beginning of the month. I was very intrigued with like the blurb, and the cover was really stunning, and a lot of people had been hyping it, but I just felt like, for me, I didn't vibe with the writing, I didn't vibe with the main character, I didn't vibe with any of the characters surrounding her. I feel like a bunch of really weird shit happened and the main character saw it and she was like, this is absolutely crazy, and then she never thought about it again and just was gaslighted into believing that it was all very normal and didn't question anything, and I just felt like, no. Next, I read The Fall Risk, which is a novella by Ashley Poston, I believe. I think it's Ashley. And I gave it 4 stars. Would I recommend this? Absolutely. I would recommend anything by Ashley Poston. She is an absolutely amazing writer. I love her books. And I've read 2 novellas written by her at this point, and I really like her novellas. I do wish that those novellas were full-fleshed novels because they are that good. But that's also why I gave it 4 stars, because I don't feel like you spend enough time with a novella to be able to like give it 5 star. It might be really good for a novella, but still, you know. But since I really wanted it to be a whole novel and I was that invested, I gave it 4 stars. I would recommend those novellas. If you want like a quick, fast-paced, cute romance read to like maybe get out of a reading slump, or for whatever reason, I really do recommend these novellas. I know that Abby Jimenez has written a few, and there are a bunch of authors that have like written collections of novellas, and I highly recommend them. Next we have the very fast 5-star read of this month, which I do have that somewhere. I forgot. How Elegant. I actually did bring it back with me because I loved it so much. And I read this in a reading blog, so if you haven't seen that, watch that, because then you'll get... Did I read that for a reading vlog? Maybe I didn't. That is The Favourites. The Favourites was my first 5-star read of this month. This was so good. If you like Magnolia Parks, but also like ice skating and like From Luca with Love, but with the like Magnolia Parks dramatic, painful vibes, this is definitely for you. It was absolutely incredible. I ate this book up. Just the depth to the relationships and everything that was going on, and just I don't even have words. I'm gonna put in my Goodreads review here because I think that says everything. I don't really have much more to say on that, but this is absolutely amazing. The next book I finished was my re-listen of Kingdom of Ash, whenever I like reread these really long series, I usually, if I can, listen to them so that I can read new books physically at the same time. Kingdom of Ash is still a 5-star. It remains a 5-star. It will always be a 5-star. It is absolutely amazing. The Throne of Glass series is really, really worth sticking it out for. I know that some people are like, the first 2 books aren't great, but the third one becomes really amazing. I really like the first 2 books, or the first 3 if you count the Assassin's Blade. I love the first books. I think they're the ones that got you hooked onto the series, and then it just deepens and the story develops with the next books. Absolutely. My favorites are Queen of Shadows and Empire of Storms and Kingdom of Ash, absolutely. But the first books were the books that got me hooked. And I wasn't one of those people who like read the first books and felt like I needed to trudge through them to get to the good stuff. Absolutely not. Enjoy the first books, because it's the first book that makes the books that comes later so amazing, if that makes sense. This book, however, I did read. The next one I did read for a reading vlog, so if you haven't seen that, check it out. I read Five Brothers whilst I was waiting for a couple of new releases to be delivered to me, and Penelope Douglas is a hit or miss. Sorry, that was my knee. I love the Devil's Night series, but the other books that I've read of her I haven't loved, except for like Punk 57 is also good. But so I was skeptical. I need to I have really bad allergies with spring being here. I have really bad pollen allergies. I'm like Cassian in the spring court. I was really skeptical going into Five Brothers, and if you want to see my full thoughts on that, go check out that reading vlog. But I gave it 3.5 stars. It was fine. A bit ridiculous that it was like almost 600 pages for what it was, because we were given very little. It was just like drama and very little plot, when there could have been more plot, because the plot had potential. Next, one of my most anticipated releases of this year, and one of my 25 books I want to read in 2025. It's on that list, and that is The Rebel Witch. And I was obsessed with The Crimson Moth. I am still obsessed with The Crimson Moth. It was a really good sequel. It gave the same vibes as the first book, which is really important, because sequels don't always give the same vibes. And sometimes you're really disappointed with the sequel. The only thing was that I was a bit disappointed with the end. I felt like it was a bit anticlimactic, and she used a trope that, or like, I don't know if it's a trope, but a thing that authors sometimes use to make it like painful and drama filled, but then you know that it's not for real, that they're not gonna like stick it out to the fullest, that it just doesn't really hit the way it's intended to. So I was a little bit upset at that, and towards the end it became a lot of like back and forth, and the cat and mouse thing was dragged for a bit too long. So that's why I give it 4 stars. Still a good sequel. I still recommend the duology, absolutely, but it wasn't a 5-star like the first book was. But I feel like sequels rarely are. Did I bring The Rebel Witch? I've forgotten. I'm just sitting here talking. Oh, it's all the way up there. You know what? I'm sorry, but I can't be bothered to go. I worked out yesterday. The next book I do have somewhere close to me here, which is another new release that a lot of people were very excited for, and that myself included, which is Wildside by Elsie Silver. I love this series. I do. Did this guy, Reese, I think his name is, did he top Kate Eaton and Theo Silva? Absolutely not. No, they're still my favorites. I'm forever faithful to those two. Did I really have a great time and really enjoyed the romance in this and just the overall story? Absolutely. Did I want it to be a bit more, you know, this, we have to get along because we're taking care of this kid that doesn't have any parents anymore and we have to share custody, and that's why we develop into this little family and realize that we actually have feelings for each other? Yes, I wanted more from that. I felt like that was like a very small part of the love story, even though that's like the biggest thing that is bringing them together. So I was a little bit disappointed with that. I do still really recommend this series. Wild Eyes is still my favorite of this, surprisingly enough, because I really expected not to like Wild Eyes, but I really like that book. So we know that Wildcard is coming. Is it coming this year? It might be coming this year too. I'm not sure. I don't really keep track of those things as well as I should. I'm really excited for Wild Card. Card. I do think that Wild Card could top Wild Eyes, because it's a ex-boyfriend's father romance. And I don't think I've ever read one of those. The closest thing I've come to one of those, I think, is like Credence. And that's, you know, Credence. I don't think that Elsie Silver is going to pull a Credence, but I'm really excited for Wild Card. So, why do I keep saying car? I do highly recommend reading this. I do. If you like the first 2 books, pick this up. Like, there's no reason not to. And it will make you very excited for Wild Card. So I gave this, what did I give this? 4 stars as well. So 2 very anticipated new releases that both ended up being 4 stars. The next book I listened to, which was Fall With Me, because I wanted to continue the Consider Me. They're all like over here next to Mile High and all of those books. I don't think you can see them. Right there. At the corner. Would anyone want a bookshelf tour? I don't think I'm popular enough for anyone to want a bookshelf tour. I didn't like Fall With Me. I've heard before that people criticize the first 3 books for being like ridiculous, and the main love interests are really just annoying and obnoxious, and I didn't feel that when I read the first 3 books, because I did really have a great time with them. But I really felt that with Fall With Me. I was just so sick of the main character, and he was too much of a fuckboy that he kind of became like sexist and like gross and creepy, and I just I don't vibe with that. So Fall With Me received a 1 star, and that's the last 1 star we have of this month. Right, I read Split or Swallow. Yeah, I don't really have that many words for this series, except that during sex he broke her pelvis. And that pretty much tells you everything you need to know about this book. I still have nightmares about it. And it's been weeks. I'm never going to be the same. I'm never going to look at a snake the same way again. So I gave that 2 stars actually. And the only reason that I bumped it up to a 2 star is because the plot was there. There was potential for there to be actually good plot around the like everything else. But then after like the first 5 chapters, or like 10 chapters maybe even, where there was an underlying plot that you were like, oh, this could actually like have some substance to it. After that, they were just going at it multiple times in like every single chapter. And I was just so sick of it. The plot was forgotten, it was buried under a whole lot of... Then I read an arc for a collaboration, which was The Elf Witch, that I ended up giving 4 stars. If you like morally grey, both main character and main interest, and I like thought about it now, because they're not morally grey, they're morally black. Like if you like the anti-hero main character, The Elf Witch is definitely for you. And just if you like interesting magic systems and like political intrigues and really good plot, but also like a, you know, tension-filled romance where they're like true enemies to lovers, The Elf Witch, I highly recommend that you pick that up. So in order to try to forget the breaking of the pelvis and the really hung basilisks, I wanted something cute, sweet, fluffy, you know, and Devney Perry always hits. Like, I love her. They're like over there. Her Indigo Ridge series, I really had a good time with that series. So I read Coach. Coach is also over there. Am I really lazy? But that was also a really difficult book to place in the shelf, because that shelf is really full. And I really had to press that book in there to make them fit. So I don't really want to take it out, because then I'll have a difficult time taking it in again. I'll just place the cover here. We're just going to do that with most of the books. So I read Coach. I gave it 3.5 stars. But Coach was a really good gateway into this entire series, the Treasure State Wildcat series by Devney Perry. Because then I read Blitz immediately after and I ate it up, but I only gave that 3 stars. But Blitz got me even more excited for the third book, which is what I wanted to read when I read the first book and met the characters that are the main characters for the third book, if that makes sense. So then I jumped on into Rally and I rallied. That didn't really make sense. That book was absolutely amazing. It was so good. I read that in like 1 sitting, I think, and it ended up being a 5-star. And immediately after I read Rally, I jumped straight into Merit, which is the last book in that series, and I gave it a 4.5 star because that was also absolutely amazing. I do highly recommend the entire series. Just because the first 2 books weren't like my favorites doesn't mean that they weren't good. They were both solid romances that include a lot of things that I know a lot of romance readers like. Now, I vibe personally more with the love story and the people that were the main characters of Rally and Merit, but the people in Coach and Blitz were also really good, and they were really good love stories. So I do really recommend this entire series. It's really good. It's a solid sports romance. And each book, like, there's something for everyone. Like, we hype, you know, the Windy City series a lot, which is really good. And, you know, a lot of these hockey romance series. But this is a football romance series, and it is incredible. And I've never seen anyone talk about it. I've seen them talk about the Indigo Ridge Juniper Hill series by Devney Perry. The Edens series, I think that one is called. But the Treasure State Wildcat series, guys, read it. It's amazing. Then I jumped into 2 novellas, one by Abby Jimenez and one by Ashley Poston, at the same time as I was reading another fantasy book. So I read Worst Wingman Ever by Abby Jimenez. Love her. She is such an amazing author. So I gave Worst Wingman Ever 4 stars. No, 3. I can't see my own writing. I gave it 3.5 stars. But the same goes as like with the Fall Risk novella. Like, I want these to be fully fleshed out romance novels and not just a novella, because they were that good. And then I read With Any Luck by Ashley Poston, which was, again, really good. I am obsessed with Ashley Poston. I love her, like, the elements of paranormal to her romance. So in this one, in With Any Luck, the girl is like, it hit quite close to home, because she's like, whenever I kiss someone, the person that they meet after that is their true love that they are going to stay with. And most of the guys that I have like flirted with or barely even had a fling with, like, I haven't ever dated anyone for real, but like had a fling with, the girl that they meet after me, they've gotten into a relationship with. It's happened 5 times, which is kind of odd. I felt like that whole storyline really resonated with me, and I saw myself a lot in the main character, and just the romance, it was so good. It was so good. I really wish, like, I can't speak. Like, Ashley Poston, you're never going to see this YouTube video, but if by some stroke of miracle you ever were, please, could you do a full novella? No, a full novel of With Any Luck, because 41 pages was not enough. I only gave it 3.5 stars though, and I don't know why. I think I've made a mistake, because it's supposed to be a 4-star. I don't know my own mind, okay? Give me a break. And then I read Forest of Souls. Well, I read that like at the same time as I read those novellas, and I only gave it 4 stars. I have a longer explanation in my reading vlog, but I just felt like it was a bit of a mess, and it felt the friendships that were supposed to like justify some of the actions felt shallow and a bit flat, and I just wasn't, it wasn't for me. I didn't vibe with it. I wasn't intrigued. And then I finished another reread, which was my reread of the second book in the An Ember in the Ashes series, which is A Torch Against the Night. So I gave that 4 stars, which is the same rating I gave it the first time I read it. So all of these rereads, none of the books are getting worse when I reread them. Like, I know that some people are like, when you reread a book and then it's not as good as when you read it the first time. That's never happened to me, not yet. They just kind of grow on me even more. I kind of start liking them even more. I highly recommend the An Ember in the Ashes series, by the way. It is absolutely amazing. If you like political fantasies with amazing romances and that like fantastic world building and a fantastic magic system, you should really pick up An Ember in the Ashes by Sabaa Tahir. And next I read Neverkeep by Suzanne Valenti and Caroline Peckham. It was really good. I loved it. Was dual perspective about two different girls. I really wanted to be in one of the perspectives more than the other because I was obsessed with one of the perspectives, and the other one I was like, it was fine, I liked it, but I always wanted to get back to the other girl's perspective, which is why I gave it 4 stars. Like, I definitely want to read the second book. Romance in one of the perspectives was just, it was a slow burn and it was building, and her magic was really interesting, and just her entire storyline and the plot twist that like, both the plot twist but also the cliffhanger that like ended on. I am frothing at the mouth for her perspective. I want a book with just her perspective, because since that perspective was so good, I like cared even less about the other perspective, even though that in and of itself was good. It just wasn't as good. Then when I traveled home on the train, I read The Rom-Commers, and I read this in one sitting. I've only read one book by Catherine Center before, which is The Bodyguard, and we read that as our book of the month pick once with my book collies, and it was really, really good. I had a great time, and I've been wanting to pick up something else by Catherine Center ever since. I just haven't gotten around to it. So as I was traveling home, I had like a 4-hour train ride. I think the ride in and of itself is like 3.5 hours, and I got like 75% into the book or something. I like flew through it. It had me really, I like barely noticed that time was passing whilst I was on the train, because I was just flying through this story. And then when I came home, I finished it. So I finished it in one, like not one sitting, but in less than 24 hours. Did I only give it 3.5 stars? What is with this rating? 3.5 stars is a good rating, by the way, but I definitely thought that I had given it 4 stars. No, I gave it 3.5 stars. I really need to work on my handwriting. But I really liked it. I think I gave it 3.5 stars because... why did I give it 3.5 stars? I think it felt a little bit rushed. And sometimes it felt a bit too much back and forth. Like, he did something, she got mad, they made up a few hours later, and then it happened again. I think that was why. But I do still recommend it. It was a good, funny romance. Then I read Damaged Like Us. I did my reread of Damaged Like Us because I really want to reread the entire Like Us series, or at least until Jane and Thatcher's books, or even Oscar and Jack's books, or book, before the Cobalt Empire series comes out. The first book comes out later this year with Burn Bright, so I did want to do a reread of those books, so I'm listening to them. I'm listening to the second book right now, and it's still a 5-star. This is like the Addicted Callaway series, and then going into the Like Us series is one of the best, if not the no, actually, you know what? It's the absolute best romance series ever. I finished Sunrise on the Reaping last night, but 5 stars. Highly recommend. If you haven't read the Hunger Games book, what the hell are you doing? Pick those books up. They are in a league of their own. Like, there's nothing to compare those books to. And if you watched and enjoyed the movies, you're going to absolutely love the books, because the books are so much better than the movies. I actually do have Sunrise on the Reaping right here. And just look at this cover. It's absolutely stunning. Everyone should read the Hunger Games and Sunrise on the Reaping books, because they are so important. But 5 stars. 1,000,000 stars. All the stars. Whilst I was waiting for Sunrise on the Reaping to show up, I did read A Pack for Autumn. But I have like 10% left. Which is why I'm like, I hate when this happens, because I want to finish a month, and I want to finish the last book I read of that month on the last day of that month, so that I can solidly put it in one of the month, because I will not write it in 2 of the months. I don't know what to do about A Pack for Autumn. But A Pack for Autumn will be another 2-star, because I just feel like it had a lot of potential. It seemed really sweet and cute and fun, and then they just like went at it. And she was like described, the main character was like kind of scared of people, you know, didn't like to be amongst a lot of people, socially shy, socially awkward a little bit as well. Just really, really sweet, but really, really shy. And then she spends like an hour with or like she watches a movie with one of these guys in the movie theater, and they're the only ones there, and that's the amount of time that they've known each other for, and then she like fucks him there. And I was like, that's just so out of character for this character that you have built up. And then she sleeps with the other two guys because it's a reverse harem, so I don't have a problem with that whatsoever. I love reverse harems, but the fact that it like happened so fast, and this whole like person that we had gotten to know, the things that she did was just the complete opposite of that. So I wasn't a big fan of that. That makes it... I did not just drop Sunrise on the Reaping. I did not. That makes it, let's count, shall we? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, possibly 23 if I count it. I want to write that down now. What did I say? How many books did I say? 22, 23, wait. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. I am counting a pack for autumn. Total 23. And next month is April. So let's close the chapter on March and go to April. Finishing the wrap up like we did last time. We are gonna finish the wrap up by talking about the 6 books that I have picked for my hopefuls for the next month that we will be going into, which is April. For my April hopefuls, I have chosen The Conditions of Will by Jessa Hastings, which is, or is it Jessica Hastings? I was right the first time. I should trust my instincts. Jessa Hastings, who is the author of Magnolia Parks and the Daisy Hates series, and I haven't read Never by Jessa Hastings. I don't know if I will, but I read the blurb of The Conditions of Will and it sounded absolutely amazing. So that is arriving tomorrow. It's a new release. It is released today. It's the 1st of April. It's released today. And it will arrive tomorrow because I pre-ordered it. So it's set to arrive tomorrow. Amazon might let me down and it might be delayed, but fingers crossed. It will arrive tomorrow. The next book is another book that is released today, which is on my 25 in 2025, The Conditions of Will. I didn't know that was coming, so it wasn't. But in my 25 in 2025, 25 new releases that I want to read in 2025 is Abby Jimenez's new book, Say You'll Remember Me, which feels just Taylor Swift coded. Say you'll remember me, standing in a white dress, staring at the sunset, babe. I'm not an artist, as you probably could hear. It's Say You'll Remember Me. Say You'll Remember Me is also released today. It is set to arrive tomorrow, I do believe. I can't see if it's set to arrive tomorrow. Maybe it was Our Infinite Fates that was set to arrive tomorrow because I bought that at the same time. But speaking of, the 3rd book is also a book that's kind of new, but it's not released in April. I don't know when it was released, but I think it was released in 2025. And that is Our Infinite Fates. A lot of people have been talking about this on Book Talk. It sounds like something I'm gonna love. It sounds a bit like mix between like Shatter Me and Divine Rivals. I might be so far away with that comparison, but based on the blurb and like what I've had people say about it, those are the vibes that it is giving me before I picked it up. But I've ordered it, so I'm gonna pick it up in April. And then we have 2 books that aren't out yet but are set to be released in mid-April. We have a 3rd book that I could have put on this list, but it's set to be released at the end of April, and that means that I might not be able to get it before April is over, which means I'm probably gonna place that book in May instead. Is it May, the month after April? Yeah, May. That's why I've only placed Wild and Wrangled and Enchantra in April as well, because they're set to be released at a date where I will be able to get them and read them before April is over, hopefully, probably. And then last but not least, a book I already have at home on my shelves that I was saving. I got it for Christmas and I've been saving it for more springier times because it feels spring-esque, like it gives me spring vibes, which is Loving Romeo. And I've never heard anyone speak of this, I don't think, but the book is really pretty. I do have that book. Loving Romeo. The cover's really pretty and it's called the Magnolia Falls Chronicles, and there are multiple books. I could jump into this immediately. This feels like a bit of a like Romeo and Juliet inspired, because she's like a rich kid and he's a boxer from the wrong side of the tracks and they fall for each other, hence the boxing gloves on the cover. So I could jump immediately into this. However, after Sunrise on the Reaping, I felt like I wanted more of a fantasy. Like, Sunrise on the Reaping isn't a romance, it's not a fantasy, it's dystopian, it's heavy, it's dark, it's emotionally torturing and exhausting, but I still feel like I want something that's not as real. I was in a fantasy mood, a pure fictional fantasy, complete fantasy, fully fantasy mood, and my dad a couple of days ago called me and was like, hey, have you read this book, and said the book title, and I was like, no, I've actually never even heard of that book. And I was like, well, I'm gonna order it for you because it looks really pretty and it looks like a Lily book. And I was like, oh, that's so sweet, thank you very much. I'm not saying no to a free book. So I picked it up yesterday and it's The Wren in the Holly Library, and my dad was 100% right. This is a Lily book through and through. I haven't read it yet, but just looking at it and the title, it screams Lily. My dad apparently knows my book taste very well, which I didn't know that he did. But I'm never gonna say no to him buying me a book. Not that I've ever said no to him buying me a book, but you know, usually it's something from my wish list because it's for a birthday or Christmas or whatever. I had no idea that it was even going to be a hardback, let alone that it was going to have these stunning sprayed edges. And I think that's what Dad was like, this looks like a Lily book, because I do love sprayed edges. Dad said that it was a Beauty and the Beast retelling, and you know, I just read the what is it? It's not annotation. I can't remember what it's called. To the Girls Who Fell for the Library Before the Beast. Yes. Well, that was my wrap up for March and my hopefuls for April. I know that this isn't on my hopefuls for April, but that's because I wrote that list before I received this. If I could, I would put this on there. So I'm just gonna start with that, and then when I get the new releases, I'm probably gonna want to read them before I read anything else, and pick up Loving Romeo in between the time from where, say, You'll Remember Me and The Conditions of Will and Wild and Wrangled and Enchantra come out. I will probably read Loving Romeo somewhere between there. That's it for this reading wrap up. I hope you maybe got some good recommendations, because that's what I always want to give you guys, and I hope you guys read some amazing books in March. If you had any 5-star reads, 4-star reads, even 3-star reads that you really enjoyed, then please write them in the comments, because I'm always in need for more books to my never-ending TBR, which sounds counterproductive. That was it. Have a nice day, a nice week, a nice month. I love you guys. Thank you for hanging out with me, and hopefully I will see you in the next one. Bye! Why are outros always so awkward?